Hello friends, I am Paul and this is Game Turtle. Today I'll be talking about Momodora Reverie Under the Moonlight. Reverie Under the Moonlight is the fourth game in the Momodora series. I've actually reviewed the first 3 games in this series already, so absolutely check that video out first if you haven't already. As I made pretty clear in that video, I'm rather fond of the series. I spoke at length about the vast improvements made with each subsequent game, and what I said about then holds especially true for Momodora 4. This is a fantastic game, and the series has absolutely come into its own here. As much as I enjoyed the first 3 games, they didn't give me the motivation to play the game 3 times through on release like this game did. If that's not a good indicator of a fantastic game, I don't know what is. Momodora is set many years before the previous games, and the series' elusive lore continues here. Kaho is the name of the priestess tasked with lifting the curse sweeping over the land. Momodora is a series where you're dropped straight into the thick of it, but with just enough intrigue to suck you into the charming world and its lore. Momodora is not what I'd consider a game to play for its plot, but there's a wonderful atmosphere coursing throughout the game's veins. The game world is exquisitely crafted, a visual treat, with some gorgeous sprite art on display. The soundtrack is wistful and lovely. Animations are smooth and characterful, and combat animations are telegraphed well, and essential for a game with a high-stakes combat system like this one. Reverie Under the Moonlight's gameplay definitely has aspects of Metroidvanias and the Souls series in its design. The game is a vast grid of interconnected screens, and player progression comes from upgrades and hidden items. The order of activities is not entirely linear, which in a game like this is something I can appreciate, especially if you play the game through 3 times over back to back. The Souls influence can be felt in the combat system and in the game's approach to lore, and story details tied to item descriptions and environmental storytelling. It's a slick, engaging pair of influences, but the game goes beyond these. Momodora has a combat system far exceeding that of the previous games in the series. It plays just really well. My biggest complaint of the combat in the previous games in the series is the way it regularly devolved into mashing the attack button as fast as possible between boss moves. It's possible to play with finesse, sure, but the game's allowed for a dull amount of mashing to clear bosses fast. Momodora 4 absolutely knocks the socks off this old combat system. The most important part of the combat is the new hit stun on Kaho's swings. Against regular enemies, you can stun out their regular attacks. The ones you can't stun can be dealt with the game's other combat addition, dodging. The dodge mechanic allows for invincible frames during the central part of the roll, but you are vulnerable at the end point. With dodges being a specific length, this means you have to use them sparingly or else you risk rolling straight into damage. Through the use of these 2 mechanics, as well as an unblockable air dodge, even regular combat encounters feel exciting and dramatic. Kaho also comes equipped with a bow for picking off those pesky ranged enemies. The game has an item system where abilities can be equipped to Kaho and consumable items refill at the save stations. This adds a nice bit of customization to combat too, without becoming too cumbersome. As I said before, the combat animations are super effective and they telegraph information brilliantly. The sound design is also excellent, with hit-stun hits having a hearty thud to them. All these things combine to form a genuinely brilliant combat system. The bosses in Momodora 4 demand special attention. They're a treat, with visually stimulating effects and interesting gameplay spins to shake up your combat style. In fact, every enemy type brings their own style, and they're well laid out within the environment. Each room of the game is exciting, and the space within each screen is being used to great effect. There are some hidden areas and items, just the right amount to encourage exploration without being a chore. It helps that they are far from essential to progress through the game. I'm a sucker for good sprite art, and Momodora 4 has some of the tastiest I've come across in a game. There's so much character in every sprite, and the game's backgrounds are stunning. The environmental design in general is top-notch. Momodora Reverie Under the Moonlight feels like the game that the series was always striving for. Ultimately, it feels like a success. With its compelling combat system, intense atmosphere, and adept sound and visual design, it would be hard for me not to recommend the game. Momodora 4 is the series' best yet, and the creators should be immensely proud of the experience they've crafted here. Thanks so much for watching. Feel free to like, comment, or subscribe, and have a great day.